What's up, everybody? Belligerent here with another Bloodline video. This is a Bloodline composition guide. I'm going to show you one of the comps that I put together. I call it the Wrath of Zeus. All right. I love this comp. It just blows everything up. So let's talk about it. First thing to understand, this is a very glass cannon comp. We have almost no defense in this comp. You're either going to blow them up or you're going to get blown up if you run this comp. Like, it's very all or nothing. There are very few knock down, drag out, edge it out by the skin of your teeth. Either you wipe the enemy team off of the board in about 15 seconds, or you're getting blown away. So let's take a look at this comp, how it works. We're just going to jump into it. We're going to hit all the points really quick. I'm going to show you what I did, and then we can briefly touch on some things you can try out if you don't have all of these champions or you don't have these champions strong enough. So this entire composition is based around the new clan, the Lume, the female, her passive. Ignore the beginning. I don't care about the damage reduction. I like the second sentence. For each buff on a teammate, damage dealt is increased by 1%. So for each buff implies it's going to stack. Now, do we know if that really works that way? We don't know. We have no indicators. But if it didn't work that way, I don't think we would clear quite as fast. So the goal with this composition is to stack buff after buff after buff. Okay, so the only form of defense or survivability that I have in this comp comes from the male Lume. And you're probably already familiar with his skills, but we'll cover him again real quick here. His passive is he just heals the team. This is really going to go off maybe once or twice in the entire match. Okay, this is the big one. His ultimate is a revive. So if one of the teammates dies within 5 seconds, they get back up. It's really the only type of survivability in this comp is if he gets this ultimate put off on one of the teammates, they'll pop back up. Now, to buff that even more, we have the female Lume's ultimate, which essentially is a repeat your ultimate skill. She takes her energy, she gives it to the champion with the strongest or the highest strength rating, and they get her energy, therefore their ultimate bar gets refilled. So, and in my comp, my male Lume has the highest strength rating, so this allows her to make him repeat his revive several times, even in the course of 15 to 20 seconds. Okay, now to go along with that, I married the focus trait. This is the Dark Elf Assassin trait onto her. So when battle starts, increase energy gain rate by 22%. This should also technically be a buff. I don't know if it's counted as a buff, but this should technically be a buff. But again, I don't care. She's not on the board for damage, so buffs on her specifically don't matter. The other trait that I married onto her, and you see it's a level 4. I don't have a better one, and I don't really need a better one. In the future, yes, the goal will be to upgrade this to a better one. However, this comes from the Warrior Orc clan. Of course, I picked 2 clan traits where I can't pronounce the name of the clan, but the Orc Warriors, Little Miss Spin to Win, we got this trait from that clan, Inspiring. When the battle starts, increases all champions' damage by 5.85%. That is a team-wide buff. Okay? That means that every teammate is getting affected by this buff, which in turn means every teammate is getting buffed by her passive. So that's how that works. All right, let's keep going. We're moving fast. I know you guys don't want to listen to me ramble about this. In our tank slot is the female Lionheart. Now, make no mistake, she is not a tank. She shouldn't be called a tank. She has a big giant shield. They call her a tank. She's not a tank. She's a support, okay? Which is great for us in this situation. Her ultimate is a support ultimate. It buffs strength and attack speed. That should be 2 buffs. That should proc the passive from the female Lume twice. Whether it does or not, we don't know. But theoretically, it should proc twice, even if it only procs once. That's all we need. Okay. Our damage comes from the male Fulgur. Surprise, surprise. Everybody's favorite nuke in the game. Okay. But also, let's look at why. He has a trait. His clan trait is a team-wide buff. When the battle starts, increases all champion strength by 5%. That is a team-wide buff. And it continues throughout the match, so they're constantly being buffed, so you never lose that buff. The female Lionheart's buff lasts for 5 seconds, I believe it is, from the ultimate. Yeah, for 5 seconds. So this one is an ongoing one, so that is a great trait. You get that. That's his clan trait. Okay? The other thing that's key for him specifically, this is not a team-wide one, but on his active, he activates a shield, but he also increases the caster's attack speed and normal attack damage. That should be 2 buffs. Again, same as the female Lionheart. Even if it doesn't count as 2 within the system, it gives us 1 more buff to stack on him. Okay, and then obviously you have his ultimate, the lightning rains down from heaven, which is kind of why I came up with the corny Zeus name for the comp, but we got to have a cool name for our comp, right? Leave me alone. Don't at me about the name. And finally, the male Aesion, or I always call him the priest because that name doesn't really pronounce well for me. All right, why do we have him here? His passive, a team-wide buff. Buffs on top of buffs on top of buffs on top of buffs, okay? Also, his ultimate is an AoE nuke, very similar to the male Fulgur, and on top of it, it nukes everybody's damage on the enemy team, so that's a slight bit of defense for you as well. Also, his trait is a team-wide thing where everybody receives more healing efficiency. That should technically be a buff. You're improving a stat, but we don't know if it's counted as a buff or not. But again, we're just putting without knowing how all of this stuff actually interacts and having indicators to show us when things are actually interacting with other things. All we can do is stack buffs on top of buffs on top of buffs. So that's how this works. Let's take a moment, pause, and you got to see a montage at the beginning, but now I'm going to take you through a playthrough, and we'll talk about that. All right, so here we are. We got our setup. Look at the enemy team. They're all level 191, 192. They out-level most of my champions except for the tank. They out-level us by at least 11 levels, but much more drastically with some of my other champions. And we're going to get this started, and you're going to see that the levels don't matter in this case. Eventually it will matter. But we get the buff there from the female Lionheart. Lightning Boy pops off. Priest Boy pops off. We get out a revive in case it's needed. And then Priest finishes them off. Like 15 seconds, done, over. All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. This is not my favorite composition that I run, but it is a very, very fun composition. I'm more of a, I want the survivability, I want the defense, but I'll tell you what, blowing things up in 15 seconds when they're so much higher level than you is so fun and so rewarding. So this comp got me really excited. We got some more composition videos coming a little bit later. So let's talk about some of these things. So the one in mind that is the most replaceable is the male Lume. He doesn't add anything to this composition except for his revive. And because I have Mythic and he's such a high level, he does a lot of damage, but it's not AoE damage. It doesn't, right? He's not buffing the team. If you don't have him, you can still run this comp. You should still be fine. So you just got to find a replacement for him, okay? He is the most replaceable. Obviously, the female Lume is probably the least replaceable because it's all built around her passive. If you don't have the female Lionheart, then just run a good tank. I would recommend the male Lionheart or the male Sallyhorn. Male Lionheart will give you a little more survivability because he has a team-wide shield. The male Sallyhorn is going to bulldoze somebody, dash into the back line, stun them, and then the rest of their team will group up and all attack him. So that keeps their damage off of your squishy mages. So that would be my recommendation if you don't have the female Lionheart. If you don't have the male Fulgur, the female Fulgur would work almost as well. She doesn't have that buff that he has coming from his active ability. You could also run female Ignis here. She has a good AoE buff, or not buff, sorry, good AoE ultimate. It doesn't hit all at once like the Fulgur and the Priest, but it does hit everybody, and it gets stronger as the match goes on. Not that these matches last very long. So those are a couple of champions you can consider subbing out. Let me give you one more that I haven't tested out, but if somebody's going to try this comp and you have a mythic level version of this champion and they have good traits on them, I would love if you would sub this in and let me know how it works, because I had some theory crafting going on in my mind, but my champion sucks, so I can't really test it. And I don't really consider this a strong champion in general, but the female Huntsdorf, because of her ultimate, for the next 5 attacks, uses a grenade to attack enemies, right? So she gets 5 AoE attacks that do lots of damage, especially if you have the skill buffed, and should work well with all of these mega buffs that we're putting on. But mine is only legendary, and if you look at my traits, there is not a single strength trait in there. Her strength is only 1300, so very, very weak marksman that I have. So when I put her in, I was very unimpressed. But I still believe that maybe if you have a mythic that's, nicely statted out, that one could work as well. So let me know what you think. Also, in the comments, shoot me some lists of your favorite team compositions. I have some more that I'm going to put out, but I also want to know what the community is doing. If you shoot me your favorite composition and I'll test it out and I like it, I might make a video about it, give you a shout out in that video. Also, leave me comments about what you thought about this comp if you try it. If you like this video, you want to see more videos like it, please take the 1 second, the single click to click on that like, so I know that these videos are what you want to see. Subscribe so you can know when future comments or future content is coming out. Tell a friend, send me a message. I'm Belligerent. Peace.